Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. This is The Amateur, where we're here just to talk life, hobbies, politics, ideologies, what have you. And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about an issue that happened a little while ago of a clinical psychologist being fired for her social media account. And this is going to be super, super relevant. But before I begin, as you can see the scenery behind me, bookshelves gifted by my parents. Thanks, parents. This is my first book that I made when I was in 3rd grade. This was a painting from one of my coworkers. And these 3 paintings I did myself. These were paint and sips. I think every single one of them was a paint and sip. I do enjoy paint and sips. I cannot paint to save my life, but if you tell me what to do, I can follow along for the most part. So that's there. These won't be in the next video that I post. And the reason for that is because I wanted to do this video first because of the relevancy. Especially you'll understand more why when you see the next video, if you see the next video. But essentially just kind of understanding I now have like a newfound stake in the things that I say, the things that I push out and publish on social media. Like, I'm actually super, super grateful that my account is pretty small. It's not gotten very popular. I'm not posting at a frequency for it to be popular, which is completely fine, because this is an incident of a woman saying her beliefs, saying what she thinks to be right or thinks to be true, and the internet doing its thing and finding her job and getting her fired. And for me, I'm still in school. I'm still at a position where I don't even have my degree yet. I'm not licensed and I'm not practicing or anything, so I'm still really learning. But because of my job, because of the school I'm in, like, I gotta be really cautious, and just the environment, like, to have people coming after me and kind of attacking me for the things that I'm saying, even if they're not, popular or whatnot. Like, I have to get to Jordan Peterson's level of presence within the psychological community, and like he has his own very strong footing within that. Like, he doesn't have to worry about that. And Jordan Peterson will be a conversation later for today. But again, that's why I wanted to do this video first, and I published this video first before pushing everything else, because again, like, there is a little bit more caution that I kind of have to like keep into play. And again, not really something I have to worry about right now with a small channel, which is, again, very, very fine. But it's the principle. You never know how these YouTube algorithms work. But anyway, so as I kind of mentioned briefly, today's episode is going to be discussing a Black woman who is also I don't know if she's a clinical psychologist or a therapist or whatever, but she is licensed to some extent to provide therapy to people. And she posted a TikTok saying that men need to go to therapy so that they can have a safe environment to both learn how to express themselves, to learn how to, to better articulate their emotions and to better express their emotions than whatever it is that they're currently doing, and just kind of seek the help that they need. She didn't say it how I'm saying right now, because you will see the videos, but that is the message. And pretty much the entire, I wouldn't say the male community, a lot of the male community and the female community, I would just say the Black community in general, kind of came at her and was like, yeah, you shouldn't have said it, or you shouldn't have said it like that. To which I also agree, but there's a little bit of hypocrisy there. But essentially what happened again is that people came for her and how she said her words and what she said and kind of the things that she was saying, and essentially got her fired from her job. I believe she's at a level where she is able to have her own practice, meaning that she doesn't work under anybody. She's her own boss, and that's the level that I aspire to. But she's not working under anyone else's license but her own. But anyway, the internet came for her, got her fired. But I'll go ahead and show the videos, because again, like, I'm saying it very nicely and that's not what she was saying. But I'll go ahead and show those videos.
Okay, so I'm gonna define being a host, and some of y'all are radically motherfucking confused. It's essentially doing whatever the fuck you want. I guess that's the end of the definition. Do you want me to go into it? I'll go into it. Y'all know there has been a stigma attached to women existing, and being a hoe simply means doing whatever the fuck you want. Now, if you're in a committed relationship, slut him out. If you're not, slut all of them out. Like, why do motherfuckers be so pressed over who you fuck?
A couple days ago, Psychology Today released this article about the rise of lonely single men, which
Please, with all your spirit gusto, go click back on that video. I've been telling y'all motherfuckers that y'all are going to be single for the rest of your fucking life if you do not increase your emotional communication skills, emotional intelligence, or any of these things. The Psychology Today article that my good sis is referencing is nothing but proof that these podcast alpha male bullshit ass father issue heaven ass motherfuckers is forcing y'all to a lifetime of singleness. I keep seeing on this bullshit ass app that women have these poor attitudes and all this other bullshit when men truly just need to extend their emotional vocabulary so they can flourish and have meaningful, healthy relationships. But instead, y'all listening to these Kevin Samuel ass motherfuckers and it's leaving you 50 and alone. Fix it. It appears a man has entered the chat. And you're wrong. Let's explore why. So let's see what we got here. So off on this one. I usually rock with you, but this isn't the lead reason why older men are single. But hey, go off. So I'm gonna go off. You know, since you asked so nicely, I'm gonna go off. Men are so stubborn that even a Psychology Today article that is conducted by actual researchers, you still want to argue. These aren't my words. These are the articles of research. So despite actual statistics stating that men are actually the fuck alone because y'all refuse to expand your emotional vocabulary because bitches are not dealing with y'all horse shit anymore, even in an article, y'all are still not believing this. I have so many clients that are leaving their partners because they refuse to expand any part of themselves. This podcast culture has forced y'all to believe that treating women like shit is the answer to getting women. And I'm here to tell you, bruh, that we're human beings and don't want to tolerate y'all fuck shit. I.e., we are okay with being childless and alone at the cost of your emotional abuse. This literally says, I hear dating culture themes between women of the ages 25 and 45. They prefer men who are emotionally available, good communicators, and share similar values. Y'all don't even know how to articulate your emotions, so how the fuck are you supposed to maintain a relationship? I.e., you can't. That's why you're single. Emotional connection is the lifeblood of a healthy, long-term, loving relationship. Emotional connection requires skills that families are still not consistently teaching their young boys. Y'all can learn this shit in therapy. That's why I keep telling y'all this shit. You wonder why older men go for younger women? Because older women are not tolerating y'all horse shit. But now we're seeing the gap close even more. Y'all need to stop listening to these male podcasters who are sad that their dads didn't return with the milk. Go to therapy and talk about the shit that plagues you so you can have healthy relationships. Love you, King. Be well. Y'all refuse to expand your emotional vocabulary. We don't. It's to provide clarity for both us and y'all dusty bitches. Let me stop. This shit really truly irks me because when I say you need to expand your emotional vocabulary, it's so your life can be easier. Don't you want to be able to communicate with your bitch? I think yes, right? A common misconception about me as a clinician is that 90% of my clientele have been men, Black men specifically. And what we specifically work on is expanding their emotional vocabulary because a lot of y'all motherfuckers don't even have the words to express how you're feeling. So when you expand your vocabulary and knowledge of what you are experiencing, because y'all are human beings who experience feelings and emotions and don't have to choke that shit down no more. Y'all ain't had to choke that shit down since 2016. Anyway, if y'all are not in therapy, expanding your emotional vocabulary, your life just off top is going to be more difficult. When you expand your emotional vocabulary, you expand your awareness of yourself. When you expand your emotional vocabulary, you understand how you can navigate in this bitch. This fucking weird ass world that is so hard on y'all. Like, let's acknowledge that the world is very difficult for y'all, but y'all are not making it any easier, bruh. You're not. When bitches are telling y'all to go to therapy, it's not for us, it's for y'all sad motherfuckers. Go to therapy, talk about that shit that's on your chest. You don't have to choke that shit down no more. Y'all are doing a disservice to yourself. So yesterday on Twitter, I went viral because a bunch of men got butthurt for me telling them to better themselves. They're mad because I called them dusty bitches and wanted them to be accountable for their fuck shit behavior, but like, Go off, King. Be shitty. That's fine with me. Like, I was dead ass like, hey, go talk about the shit that hurts you and plagues you and has traumatized you. So you can basically learn the emotional vocabulary required to express yourself to make your life easier. And they were like, fuck this bitch! Poor unhealed sons. So I've been very nice to y'all. I've been saying, hey, don't manipulate bitches because, like, we're human beings, and I have to, like, counsel us through that. So, like, hey, just, like, go to therapy, talk to somebody about the shit that's, like, upsetting you, and maybe you might, like, learn something. And they were like, oh, no, never, you're a worst therapist ever. You should lose your license. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry that I called y'all dusty bitches because y'all are perpetuating dusty behavior. For the people who were saying in the comments, mostly men, that my license should be taken away, that's not how that shit works, boo-boo. I went through a lot of schooling and a lot of tests and internships and practicum hours to earn said license, and I'm not gonna lose it because your feelings are hurt. In fact, because your feelings are hurt, I'm the perfect person for you to talk to. I'm not your enemy. I never have been. The message of what I'm saying is healing. And you heal yourself, things just tend to work or function a little bit better because you know yourself and you know how to navigate through this horrible bitch. And I even validated for y'all that y'all experience is very difficult, but again, y'all refuse to see behind these ass cheeks. Let's see what else. Some people were like, oh, her delivery is off. Do you think I call my clients dusty bitches? No, just internet males who need to heal. I show unconditional positive regard. I'm actually quite reserved in session. This shit is the fucking internet. You have to be loud and expressive to get y'all attention. And I think I've gotten y'all attention. Hello, I would like to make a video addressing my recent video calling for men to go to therapy. Now, I will say that, firstly, I would like to apologize for the colorful language that I used, but I want to express where I'm coming from. So, as a clinician, my job is not to make people change. My job is to plant seeds and help my clients water the soil and cultivate it so they have a thriving environment to grow. That is my job. Now, from a human standpoint, I entered this field because I saw a dire need for Black mental health and Black mental health professionals, because I was not always met with support. So I apologize to individuals if you felt like my language was colorful, but I want you to know more deeply where I come from. I chose to go into mental health because only 4% of clinicians are Black, yet there's 13% of Black individuals in America. So there's already a huge disparity. And I have made it my life's work to help fill that gap. Now, where my frustration comes in is I called for individuals to do better, but then my job got doxxed. I understand that people may not agree with my delivery or the things that I'm saying, but a major boundary has been crossed. I'm so passionate in my words because I'm tired of seeing men suffer. I'm tired of seeing you guys endure so much hurt and so much trauma and refusing to do anything about it when you guys have the power to do it. As a clinician, my job is to motivate and empower, and it came across angry and aggressive because as a Black woman, I'm also tired of being hurt. But my words came across very, very spicy because you guys are dying. Whether it be gun violence, whether it be you guys killing each other, whether it be you guys killing yourselves, because you endure a lot. And I see that. I want you guys to understand that my message is clear. You have to grow. You have to move and shift as a person. But sometimes you cannot do that shit alone. Men depression rates are skyrocketing. Men's suicide rates are skyrocketing. I love nothing more than to see the black man prosper, but y'all are not. Y'all are not, and it's hurting me. So I apologize for saying y'all are dusty. I apologize for that, but my message is clear. Y'all are hurting and you desperately need to talk to someone. Pleading that y'all seek help because women are hurting. We want you to be better. But I'm getting attacked. People are calling my employment, asking that I get fired because I want you guys to be better. Again, like I said, I apologize for my delivery. This is a little spicy sometimes. But just know that my anger and my frustration and my passion is coming from a place of needing. I need y'all to heal. I don't need it. Society needs it. You need it. Have enough pride about yourself to want to do better. I understand I might not be the clinician for everyone, but I'm damn good at my job. I understand I might not be the clinician for anybody, but I've sparked a conversation. I've shook the table. It's your friendly neighborhood therapist who thought she could save these hoes, but got her job terminated as a result. Story time? I think yes. Shit you not, I posted a video on Monday telling men that their dusty behavior is only harming them and that they would benefit from emotional intelligence. And I shit you not, by Friday, didn't have employment. All of this started with a Psychology Today article stating that men are lonelier than ever because they have no fucking emotional skills. And I agreed and doubled down and told y'all that y'all lives would radically improve if you expanded the shit that came out your mouth. But instead of healing, y'all will do anything but that. Instead of being accountable like, hey, this bitch see me, and stirred a little bit, y'all got so hurt that you contacted massa. That's exactly what happened. I have been violated in several areas, and I'm gonna outline each one. This article was written by a fucking black woman, putting my full government and my place of employment. So being doxxed by a black woman can't fake, kind of fucking hurts, and she never once reached out to me or contacted me so I could spend my side of the story. This is the article that spooked my fucking job and got me fired. Not only does she not have any regard for my safety, many other articles have been written as a result. Here are a few of them, just to name a few. Black Twitter has words for therapists scolding men to go to fucking therapy. Y'all attacked me and got mad at me because I wanted better for y'all. That's the most crab in the barrel bucket type bullshit I've ever heard in my fucking life. A plethora of black men decided to take it upon themselves to call my employment to get me fired. You succeeded, but you succeeded in not the way that you think. If it's one thing about black women is that we're incredibly resilient. This just cleared the table to give me space and opportunity to educate the masses while shaking our asses to healing because y'all got mad because I wanted you to do better. I was told they consulted with shareholders and decided to terminate my contract because I told y'all to go to therapy. That's the world we live in. Monday was literally fired on Friday, telling people to go to therapy. And a lot of people got upset and attempted to hurt me, but I want you guys to understand that you didn't just hurt me. Yeah, I may have lost my employment, but all of the clients that I've had, that I've spent 5 years with establishing therapeutic rapport, now no longer have a therapist. The people that I was serving have very severe mental disorders. Severe abandonment issues. Some of them don't even have parents. Some of them have just recently come down, and I was helping them process cancer diagnoses. So while you guys did this shit for clicks and views, my clients lost a support system.
Okay, so I know that was a little long, but you seen that, you heard that. I really wanted to show enough video so you could really get the full picture of all of her words that she was saying and this kind of like the vibe. So even like before I saw all of that, like the explanation of her being fired, kind of the apology, like even just that first video that went viral for what she was saying, like I didn't agree with how she said it, but I could see through her delivery to understand the message that she was trying to say, which is like, some of y'all really need to go to therapy. And for me, like, I'll touch on this never, it doesn't even necessarily need to be therapy for me. Like, I'm not going to hold therapy as the end all be all, but y'all need help. We all need help. We all need help. We need Jesus. We all need Jesus, literally. But essentially here, especially with the backlash that she received, I just found it really interesting and really intriguing, because with her, and what I saw, and I'm like hoping that I'm trying to remain somewhat objective, but it almost seemed like the trope of the angry black woman.
Angry black
Woman.
It ain't nothing but a stupid stereotype.
Kind of hitting back at her, or I guess coming for her, kind of like that stereotype, typical lens that people weren't able to push past how she was saying the words, to just kind of hear what she was saying and hear that intention behind it. Which again, I'll speak through all of that later, but the three people, I mean, I guess the two other people that this really brought to my mind was Kevin Samuels, may he rest in peace, and again, Jordan B. Peterson, who is again a very notorious clinical psychologist who has gained a lot of rise to fame because of the words that he speaks particularly to men, or I guess maybe men seem to hang on to his words a little bit more. You might, like, I'll show a lot of clips.
Susceptibility is, if I just keep adding complexity on top of you, at some point you'll blow out at your weakest point. Maybe you'll start drinking, maybe you'll develop an anxiety disorder, maybe you'll get OCD, maybe you'll get depressed, whatever. There'll be something about you that's the weakest point, and if I just push, that's where you'll blow out. So that's a mental illness, but those things almost never just happen. Sometimes, but not very often. Usually people have just been hammered like 2 or 3 different ways.
Why do you think so many young men then are suicidal and desperate, as you say? Is this a fault of post-religious society lacking meaning?
Well, I think it's an assault on it's a consequence of the active discouragement of young men. And you see that manifesting itself through society from all the way from elementary school up through university. I mean, boys are underperforming girls at every academic level. They drop out far more frequently out of school. They do, and out of university. They're bailing out of the humanities, like, and have been for 20 years. There won't be a man left in the, well, it's very unfriendly to be a man in the humanities at universities. I don't know why in the world you would
for quite a substantial amount of time, but it wasn't like most men had rights. Christ, what percentage of Eastern Europeans were serfs until 1850? The vast majority of people in the feudal ages were essentially slaves. The men didn't have any rights. Most men didn't get the vote until very late, and, you know, women got it afterwards, but not that many decades afterwards. And to construe the history of the human race as the pervasive oppression of women by men it's a story invented by women who have never had a satisfactory relationship with a single man in their entire life. Not a brother, not a father, not a husband, not a son, nothing. Because if they had a satisfactory relationship, they would not be driving that narrative forward.
It's okay to be a man.
It's not okay. It's necessary. What the hell are we going to do without men?
To Olivia Wilde has a new movie out, which she says is based on you, this insane man, this pseudo-intellectual hero to the incel community. Incel being these weirdo loner men who are, you know, despicable in many ways. Is that you? Are you the intellectual hero to these people?
Sure, why not? You know, people have been after me for a long time because I've been speaking to disaffected young men. You know, what a terrible thing to do that is. I thought the marginalized were supposed to have a voice.
It's making you emotional. Talk about that.
Well, God, you know, it's very difficult to understand how demoralized people are. And certainly many young men are in that category. And you get these casual insults, these incels. What does it mean? It's like, well, these men, They don't know how to make themselves attractive to women who are very picky, and good for them. Women, like, be picky. That's your gift, man. Demand high standards from your men. Fair enough. But all these men who are alienated, it's like they're lonesome and they don't know what to do, and everyone piles abuse on them.
You've been so controlled today, and yet in that brief moment, you got very emotional. Why?
It's really something to see constantly how many people are dying for lack of an encouraging word. And how easy it is to provide that if you're careful. You know, give credit where credit is due. And to say, you're a net force for good if you want to be. And the reason that I was speaking forcefully, let's say, or perhaps even somewhat angrily by the end, was because not only was the white noise generator.
My name is David Limbauschu. I'm unwell. I need help. I need help. I just wanted to meet you. I'm unwell. I called on.
I hope that you
get up there.
I want to be well. Find the help that you need.
Oh my God, I want to know him better.
Is where a lot of you are, but David's just honest enough to cry for help. And some of you are at a place, and this is I think why your book has connected with people. You're at a place where you're just looking for answers. No one ever taught you basic principles of life, basic survival skills. No one ever told you to make your bed or to show up and listen and learn. And then the dam breaks. These rules work, but all of them stop short without the ruler, without Christ in your life. And we are here for that. We're here for you.
Just kind of the outreach that he has had, especially within the male community. But it's just kind of like, I'll get into that later, but I guess just kind of starting off here, it's just kind of going over everything she said and kind of the things that I agree with and the things that I do disagree with. So I think just starting off, because a lot of this is she's talking about with how bettering yourselves and getting better relationship, yada, yada, yada. And you like kind of saw the things, how she speaks to women and how she speaks to men. Like, I think just in general, regardless of what you do, that if you don't have the correct or right perspective or right understanding or even the right assumptions of the things that you're speaking on, like if you're missing that godly, that spiritual aspect, you're going to be missing something. And so I agree with her to the extent that, you know, there are a lot of things that I think the alpha male and that manosphere community that they get right, and I think that it's leading men towards the right direction as far as with like not simping or just kind of having that better confidence in oneself and setting those standards for oneself, understanding oneself and understanding what you want. But if you're missing that God out of that picture, you're gonna be missing everything. Like, yeah, if you're missing that full picture, if you're missing what God calls for us, you're going to be missing everything. Because again, there's a lot in that, because I want to say just in general what God calls us to do. Like, God tells us how we should have our relationships with one another. We have the golden rule, do unto others as you would have done unto you. So like how we treat others, that all fits very nicely and neatly into that rule. But then even further, how God calls us to have relationships, particularly for a husband and wife. And, you know, again, like that construct of sex, the construct of marriage, like if you're missing all those pieces, you're going to be missing a very important key aspect, which is the intent. And like I've said this so many times, that sex was meant to be had in marriage after you committed your loyalty to one another, that you're remaining loyal, not being committing adultery with your spouse, that you're all the things that that God calls for the husband to treat towards the wife, all the things that God calls the wife to treat towards her husband, like all those things being combined. And so like the Bible speaks to all those things, and like you have to understand why you're doing what you're doing. But at the end of the day, it's just like, if you're only talking about do this for yourself, and like you're kind of again missing that bigger picture of like what are you doing and why are you doing this and what are you trying to gain, like you're gonna be missing that the right advice or the right guidance, which is, I think, is what a lot of the manosphere are. I think that's even what this therapist is in herself, to the extent. And so I can get where a lot of this confusion is, because we are both the problem with this dating and this hookup culture and all this, why so many people are single. Like we haven't cultivated a society that's built for maintaining long-lasting good relationships. We just have not, because we've had this hookup culture in society, that we've created these people who've just connected to another people all willy-nilly without having the proper means or, the right quote-unquote restrictions. And again, Kevin Samuel speaks on this a little bit more, and I think again he's still slightly off to an extent. He's more correct than a lot more people were in the rhetoric that he was spitting out, but it's still not entirely correct, because again I say correct with the Bible. But anyway, so that was one of the issues that I found, that she was kind of correct, but not entirely. She talks about, that men need to go to therapy to learn about emotional intelligence. And like, again, I do somewhat agree. I think we say therapy, but therapy can be a lot of things. I think there's a lot of therapy in just relationships in general. So whether it is that you're going to someone who is a clinician, who's professional, who's been trained in these kinds of things, who has maybe a better understanding of the bigger picture to be able to kind of piece those inconsistencies that you may not be able to see for yourself together, or at least just having those friendships, or just that good friend or that good relationship with your parents or good relationship with a sibling or something. Like, we are social creatures. We're not meant to be alone. We're not meant to get through life alone. So just having that one good relationship with somebody, I think is what a lot of people need. I think you might be able to get some of the things off of your chest better in therapy, just because there are some legal requirements as far as with that level of confidentiality that therapists do have. But I think especially men and women are different. We are, and how we do therapy and how we use therapy is just going to be different. I just think she has a point where I think in some many cases that men tend to lack. She says emotional intelligence isn't really heavily studied, so it's not anything that's super concrete or well defined, but I think we have the gist of understanding like how well you're able to understand your own emotions, the emotions of others, and how you're trying to portray and articulate your thoughts, feelings, and emotions to others. Like, there is that certain level of just kind of understanding with and without that communication, if that makes any sense, nonverbal cues, what have you. But like, I don't know, I think there's just a lot of things that happen among men without women present that women just don't really understand. And I'm saying this as a woman. I'm not a man. I've never been in a man's body. I can never pretend to be a man or pretend to understand all the things that men go through or what happens in those spaces when it's just men. Because that can be hard. There's a lot of really negative stereotypes that tend to be portrayed a lot. I think there's the understanding as well that amongst men in general, I mean, this should go for both men and women, that you do need to be careful with whom you're sharing that information. The therapy, the internet isn't the best place for therapy. Like, you're not going to always receive the feedback that is what you want, because it's the internet. And that also goes to this woman for being fired, which I'll speak on a little bit later. But to her point is that emotional intelligence is one aspect of understanding self-control, which again, self-control is something that from my belief, is a fruit of the Spirit. It's a fruit from God. This is something that is cultivated over time. But again, like, you have to be Again, I'm getting a little bit more preachy, but you do need to be connected to the vine, connected to the tree, to the Holy Spirit of God in order for that fruit to really truly grow. So like you cannot be a Christian, you cannot believe in God or the Holy Spirit, whatever, and you can have great self-control, but like a lot of people who don't have self-control, I think it would be helpful. And again, I'm not like, if I were in a therapy session like this, I would not bring my own religion into the conversation. Like I think she mentioned it before, like it's not our job to change people. That, I mean, this is the things that I'm learning, and then, I mean, this is also what I believe as well. It's like it's not our job to change people because we just can't do that. So like it's a really weird relationship of therapy, of having those discussions and really helping someone understand what it is that they want or why they're not where they want to be, and helping them have that, you know, she said that inspiration and motivation to really change oneself, to move to where they think they should be, where they want to be based off their own personal desires and wants. And it's not my place to say like you are this way because you are unsaved and you're unholy and blah blah blah. Like that's not that's no one's place to like ever say that, especially not in a therapy session. So just kind of having that understanding there. I think overall as well, like her tone and her voice, whether she intended it to be or not, it can come off as very condescending, especially if you're talking about that whole kind of alpha male, emasculated man who's like, I can only listen to other men and I'm not going to take advice from women. Like, I know that some people still kind of have that mindset, which, you know, it happens. So like, especially how she was kind of portraying her particular thoughts, it did seem very kind of demeaning and, you know, degrading and just kind of snarky, and I can see how that can rub people the wrong way regardless of the message behind her tone. And I will say as well, like as far as with how she presented herself to the internet, I think her company is well within their rights to understand, I mean, to not necessarily separate her professional work with her personal / somewhat private work, to the extent that she knows she made this account, she made it super public, it went viral, and she is an extension of her workplace. Unfortunately, I think that, you know, they were well within their grounds to find with what she said, how she said it, or not even necessarily what she said, but at least how she said it, what she was wearing, how she presented herself, whether they deemed that professional or unprofessional law, and like were within their grounds to cut ties with her. I think it was kind of not the best move on them to just completely cut ties. I think if that company truly cared for their patients, as well as understanding that her record, if she says that she's a good therapist, I'm not going to discredit her on that, but like to not necessarily just fire her completely, because especially if she's saying that she's been seeing some of her patients for years, it's really like, if you've never seen a therapist, it's really difficult to just kind of come bare with a lot of the information that you have. Like some people have a lot of really unsettling experiences and like traumatic experience. I don't say trauma lightly either, but like a lot of things that they really don't want a lot of people to know, and they've gotten to know one particular therapist really well, that they've shared their story, they know all the information, and to have that person just kind of cut off completely and having to either start some over with someone else or like not receive the therapy at all, like that can be very not good. So I think it might have been something that it would have been better for the company to like, okay, I think you're still doing great therapy because of the supervision that I have with your work or whatever. You will keep the current set of clients that you have, but we are not going to give you any more patients. And then once those therapy sessions finish with your patients, we're not done with you. So that we are done with you. So at least at this point, the patients that she currently has, she's still able to continue to work with them while she maybe works on her own or works to find another job or whatever it is that she would have done. And that would have been that would have kept the patients first, and so it wouldn't have completely cut off that connection that they had, because I knew that was something that she was really upset about. But yeah, like that, and that's why I'm doing this video as well, is because you really do have to be careful with what you push out and how you present yourself, and making sure that it's not unprofessional or like something that a company would have to think twice on. Is this the person that I want to hire if this is how she presents herself? Like, I get there is always some sort of acting or maybe a persona, like how you are in work isn't going to be how you are with your best friend from high school outside of work going out to a club, you know what I mean? Like, we get that, but the internet is the internet, and the internet is forever, unfortunately. So it is kind of understanding that. I think she was also right also to the fact on that point that the way that you are in therapy as a therapist is just going to be different in general with how you treat other people, because and I say that as a general rule. I don't think for me, because like I want to be honest and open, you know what I mean? But I just think that in general that it's a persona of a sort where you're trying to understand what a patient needs from you without, again, imposing yourself on them and not having any sort of your own. Like, your biases are going to come into play because they are biases for a reason, but trying to understand what those biases are and try to limit them as best as possible. But you are trying to read that person's emotions and kind of give them the feedback that they're kind of asking of you, not necessarily like pushing where you know where to push, not going past that, understanding the boundaries and the limitations. But like how she was saying, she would be a little bit more reserved. Like, she wouldn't be, I would hope she's not wearing what she was wearing in her professional work environment, and that she wasn't in a setting calling her patients dusty bees or whatever it is that she was calling them. And like, I don't think she would do that. But again, like, if you're going to tie your professional license to your account, and by saying like, I am a licensed clinician and blah, 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 like, you just have to be able to tailor that. And I know we live in a society, especially with the newer generation. And I know she was like, I think she was like 29, so she's not that new. She's a millennial, solidly a millennial. But still, it's just kind of this understanding of like, there's decorum, there's a certain decorum and presentation that you need to have when you're presenting yourself publicly, which is the internet, if you're going to make it a public account. So it's just like, you have to understand that, and like, you just can't do whatever. You just can't do whatever. Like, you just can't do whatever. Like, the internet is the internet, and yes, she did get the attention that she wanted to get from the video, but at what cost? And lastly, I think she is absolutely correct in saying that men do have it harder, as they should. Maybe I wouldn't say that. But, you know, men do have it harder. Like, again, like I say as they should. You can watch a lot of my previous videos on understanding the natural order of the world, meaning that men are called to have that higher level of authority and responsibility over this earth. And again, having that higher level of authority and responsibility that is a burden. It's going to come with its difficulties and hardships as much as it comes with its rewards and payoffs. But like, that is the burden of manhood. That is the burden of being a man that some men accept, some do not, or some like try to reject it, whatever. Again, I'm not going to get too much into that with this video, but men do have it harder. I think she did recognize that. And I do think that she actually truly deeply cares about, you know, the mental health crisis that we are in, especially when it comes to, like, for me, it's everybody, but for her, she was super adamant about the Black community, yada, yada, yada. She joined because it's not a Black. I joined because we're in a mental health crisis. It doesn't matter which skin color is. But I do think she does actually care, and she didn't mean it, or she didn't intend it to be like how it was received, which again, you can't control that. She should know you can't control how people receive things. But I can see from her thing that it wasn't intended that way. But all this to say that it seems somewhat hypocritical of these men. And I say this generally speaking, because I know that it's not all men, it's never all men, but there was a lot of men that were super critical of her and how she was saying it. And I will agree that, again, because she's tied her name to her license, that there is a certain way that you need to present yourself. However, this is the internet, and like we've seen different things, people say different things. And so for me, it's like her level of like, I've seen men hurting, I've heard their stories, I've heard them explain things to me, and like when you're in a position like this, that like you have to feel that empathy for someone. And like, I say that this is a field that's meant to be based on compassion. I think that compassion gets abused sometimes by the media, but compassion in its true meaning is the shared suffering. And so like when people are sharing their deep stories of all the issues that they're going through, that they just need help, like you're you're taking on some of that burden so that they know that you have someone that's listening, not to get too deep into it, but like I see that. And then you see Jordan Peterson, who also has that same compassion, that same understanding again, but he's coming from the men's perspective. So I think there's just that, it's just a weird playoff between Jordan Peterson and this other clinician, this female clinician. Jordan Peterson coming from the place of a man, from man to man versus from woman to man. I think there is a little bit of a dichotomy there at play, because I think, again, how Jordan Peterson, just how he talks is, I wouldn't say it's gentle, but it's definitely a lot more precise. It's definitely more analytical and more just thoughtful with the words that he says and how he says it, which is true, and that's how this woman ought to have acted. But then you come to someone like Kevin Samuels, who also says things similarly within this realm. And I hope by the time that I publish this video that I would have found the clip where he says, "Get over my tone, listen to the message." Because I know he said it. I've listened to a lot of his videos. But I cannot for the love of me find that particular sound.
Okay, so when a woman tells a man the truth about a negative perception, it's for him to better himself.
But it's about her delivery, though.
Excuse me, no, ma'am, no.
No, but what I'm saying is, it's your delivery and how you say things. I'm not saying what you say. I'm saying how you say it. Mm-hmm. And everyone should have been taught how you should say something.
No, they're not. See, that's what I'm telling you. There is no nice way to tell somebody who's used to no criticism or accountability that there's something wrong.
Why would you not give me a 10 or at least a 9?
Because you're not that cute. You're being so evasive about seafood. Exactly, you lying bitch.
I don't
buy a dog, cat, die alone.
That's none of your business. I told you I was fat.
Oh, okay. We don't play that shit on my channel. You get your big fat ass on somewhere then. I don't deal with you big sassy ass broads.
It's that it's more good being done than your hurt feelings. What's coming out of it? So to the haters, detractors, critics, for any of us, look, go do it better. Go do it better and beat somebody on that side. But trying to silence people because you disagree, that's not what this country is. That's our First Amendment.
But a lot of the time, he's saying, get over my tone, listen to the message. And he's just as precise, like, with this as he is with men, as he is with women. But obviously, the woman got way more upset with him for his critique of the woman than the men did for Kevin Samuels' critique of men. There's a lot going on there. But essentially, like, Kevin Samuels pretty much calls it as he sees it. And again, he doesn't see everything perfectly because he can't. But he's pretty dang spot on and accurate with a lot of his assessments. But again, we have a lot of the men who would be upset at these women, or not, I would say upset, but they would be like laughing at this woman, or like they'd be talking about the woman, saying, I just don't like how you said that, like the way you said that is not, it's not something that's going to be well received, or blah 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 blah. And like a lot of people in general will just say, well, the message matters over the tone. I think both matter. I think message is a little bit more important than the tone, but both do matter, especially when you're in a field of psychology or therapy. How you say something, it matters. And again, Kevin Samuels is not in that position where he has that reputation of a psychologist or therapist behind, like that wasn't his job, and so he could definitely get away with it more than this woman had. But again, keeping those things aside, the fields of profession aside, like Kevin Samuels did come hard. He said some really hard facts that a lot of women needed to hear but weren't wanting to hear. I think a lot of men still do need to, again, it doesn't need to be therapy per se, but to seek a little bit of that higher edition. I think, again, like the statistics are really saddening as far as with, suicide and depression, anxiety, all these things are coming from men, especially in this current day and age. And that was the message from this psychologist. But again, a lot of people couldn't get over the tone and the name calling, yada, yada, yada. And so I just thought, I don't know. I think that, again, she was hit a little bit too hard. Maybe I don't want to say too hard. Like, again, I don't know. I think I'm trying to give more leniency than I think the internet gave her. I think, again, that the company was right to, relieve her from her job because she wasn't presenting herself very professionally or in a way that they thought best represented them and how they thought their clientele should receive the information from them. But the internet as a whole, I think, and again, like it's not a singular entity, but I think the internet as a whole kind of treated her a little bit hypocritically as far as with the fact that, we have Jordan B. Peterson, who also cares about men and like wants men to receive that help and wants men to, be men because that's what it's necessary, and he says that. And Kevin Samuels also says kind of similar things like, men, you need to get up on yourself. Like, you can't be, I think there's something he said, you can't be broke, fat, and ugly. Pick one struggle, something along those lines. And essentially, the woman gave her perspectives like, hey, men, if you want to elevate yourselves, one way to do that is to not sit with all the trauma and all the things and heartache and yada, yada, yada that you've been sitting with. You can receive some sort of education from going to seek therapy. Therapy is not inexpensive, though, I will say that. From what I've heard, I hear Medicaid and Medicare cover it. I haven't gotten to that part of my learning. But essentially, it's just like, hey, guys, it's really hard for you out there. Here's a way that you can better yourself. She didn't say like that. Maybe if she did, she wouldn't have been fired. She also maybe wouldn't have reached that widespread of notoriety that she did. And it's like, if she can live off her own license, then do what you need to do to get your message across. But I think there's obviously better ways that you can say the words that you need to say to convey your message, to convey your intent, to convey your care without demolishing your career. But what the heck do I know? I'm just an amateur. Let me know if you thought anything different, or if you thought that her retribution was just, if it was fair, if it was overdone, if it wasn't enough. Like, I don't know. Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching.